I'm really excited to share this episode about sales funnels and bringing people back into your float center. I'm sure everybody's heard that it's more expensive to get somebody in for the first time than to bring them back. Well, Kim Hannon actually gave a presentation on this during last year's Float conference, during the 2022 Float conference. And now she's super stoked to just share it with the rest of the world here. So there's great conversation. Gloria's not on this episode, but myself and Drew have a lot of questions for her. And if there's ever one to listen to and have homework for, this is it. I will be listening to this episode multiple times, even after having edited it and listened to the whole thing. There's just so much good stuff here to take notes on. Give this one a full listen through. It's good stuff. Before we get started, I do want to just talk about Helmbot for a little bit here. Let me know how to share the detailed information on this, but basically, if you want to change your schedule, like for us, we're working on changing our float schedule to get some more floats in there, change transition times. It's really cool that it's kind of like ingenious what they've done so that you can modify your schedule without changing your current schedule. Basically, you can create templates for yourself to try it out or make it, hey, during the summer we have these hours, or during the winter we have these hours. Whatever you want to do, you can create as many of these formatted templates as you want, play around with the schedule without having any risk of altering your current schedule, which would be the big scary thing, right? So just one more thing I love about the old Helm. Grab life by the helm. That's what they say every time you see one of their ads. Nope, that is not their motto, but I keep saying it because it's stuck in my mind. Anyway, I love these guys. I love the software that we use. Sandra was just glowing about this the other day when we started talking about altering our schedule, and she gave me a tour of all these different settings, and we've been playing with it ever since. But what you should do is book a tour of the entire piece of software at helmbot.com. And get a live tour. Have them walk you through everything. Ask all the questions, get into all the nitty gritty. These guys know their stuff, and they've designed software that works really well. Love this stuff. Again, helmbot.com is where you want to go. You know who else is working for you? The FTA, the Float Tech Association. Yeah, they are constantly working to give you more information. I mean, they're doing a lot of things, but one of the things they're working really hard at is educating this community on what we are doing, helping us be better at our businesses, whether it's marketing, like we're covering in today's episode, or whether it's sanitation. There's all sorts of information that they're continually gathering and sharing with all the members of the FTA. The best thing I can recommend to you is to go into their archives for the workshops that they've had, for the experts that they've brought on, and just increase your education level and be a better float center owner and run a better business, monetize your business better through the FTA. They're are never stopping what they're doing. It's really awesome that they just keep churning out these workshops that I would highly recommend. And they're doing so much more than that as well. I would recommend going to flotation.org, checking out the site, and signing up as a member. It really is something I truly believe in. I'm a member, and I love that I'm putting my resources in towards supporting the FTA, which is supporting the float community that I love so much and believe in so much. So again, go to flotation.org, check them out, and dive into those archives, go to those workshops, show up for the workshops too. Show up for them, ask questions, and there's nothing like being live there and being able to bounce back and forth with an expert and get all your questions answered. But if you do miss it, again, you've got those archives. All right, let's start the show. Welcome back to another episode of Art of the Float, where float centers thrive. My name is Dylan, and I own the Float Shop in Portland, Oregon, with my lovely, beautiful, intelligent wife, Sandra.
Hey, everybody, it's Kim Hannon with Tsukino Float Center in Salt Cave in southern Indiana.
Hey, everybody, this is Drew from New Hampshire Float in southern New Hampshire.
Nice. And Kim, what are we here? What are we doing here? What's the big idea?
Yeah. You know what? I have been so engrossed in planning the 2023 Float Conference in the past couple of weeks that we decided to throw it back to the 2022 Float Conference and
Well, when is that?
talk
When's that
about
2023? What is that?
well, the 2023, August 18th through 20th.
Oh, where is that at?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Pre-conference workshops, including mine on marketing and management. Pre-conference workshops are before the conference begins. CPO workshop, Starter Center workshop, all kinds of really awesome stuff. And so like what we're going to talk about today, we're going to expand on a lot in the workshop, along with a whole lot of other topics at my pre-conference workshop. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And like, I don't know, are tickets available now or?
You go buy them at floatconference.com.
Fantastic.
Grab your ticket before they're gone.
All right. Limited supply.
Limited
Please.
supply.
So last
You gotta
year,
know somebody.
so you're saying there was a conference last year, and what was going on?
It did happen. So last year, I presented a little workshop on creating an organic sales funnel to increase returning guests. It just so happened to be at the exact same time as Samuel Whiting's breathwork session. And
Tough competition.
I learned to pay better attention
Funny.
to the schedules that I'm chatting about and approving with Jocelyn. But we still had a great turnout for the workshop, but we wanted to bring that topic here and share it with our listeners and the folks who maybe didn't get to attend that particular workshop, or maybe if you did and you forgot some things that you thought you wanted to do, this will be hopefully a good refresher on what we talked about and a good chance to implement some things now, especially as we're getting ready to go into the summer slump in a couple of months that sometimes hits folks. Getting people back in the door is going to be, a crucial piece for all of us going into summertime. Yeah.
And that's great. Talking about the timing of this episode and all, but I actually was there for yours. I chose that over breathwork. I chose going to your seminar or workshop, and I've been begging you to do this for 6 months. So I'm so happy you are finally sharing all of your secrets with the world, giving it away for free. Thank you, Kim.
Exactly. Absolutely. I love talking about this stuff, and I chat with people about it all the time. So it's super fun stuff to do it kind of I call myself an anti-marketer. I don't like to follow a lot of the usual rules and really try to come from a place that's a place of mindfulness, especially when you're talking about sales and heart-centered sales and consulting. And, that's really what it is. And I think a lot of float centers feel like really squeamish about sales. And there's a way that you can still do it without feeling like a used car salesman.
Nice. I would love to not feel like a used car salesman, Kim.
Yes.
Especially with my voice like this. It'd be really nice not to have to sound like this at the shop. Ugh.
But you do it so well. You do it so well.
Thanks.
Yes. So you guys want to just dive in?
Hey, your workshop, your episode, you're the host tonight.
All right. So I'm going to share a little bit and then I'm going to ask you guys questions, but I would also love it if you would ask me questions along the way. So
never been a problem before.
Right.
Roger that.
So starting kind of at the top level, talking about what a funnel is and what does that mean. And if you think about it in broad terms, basically there's this giant population of people who are completely unaware that floating exists. And then you have people who become aware that it exists. And then you have people who start to follow your float center, or maybe a friend told them about it. And then eventually you get them in the door and they become a guest at your center. And so there's this whole layer, and we're not going to be talking about all of those different segments within the funnel, because there's different tactics depending on where people are in that sales funnel. And so the unaware public, if you just start telling them, how great floating monthly is, they have no idea what you're even talking about. And you're wasting your breath, you're wasting your efforts. And so you got to make sure that whatever you're matching really matches, or what you're offering is matching where they are in the life cycle itself. So we're going to focus on that kind of customer guest piece. Once you've got them in the door, how do you get them to come back again? So a lot of times we talk about, paid ads, and paid ads are wonderful for those unaware folks. But your message has to be very informational, educational, letting them know what it is and that it exists, and starting to kind of warm them up. Once they're in the door, though, a lot of times the challenge that we all face, there's typically a few challenges. one, your sales team, your staff might feel like they hate sales or that they're not good at it. They might feel like they don't know how to have the conversation with someone. Yes. And then another piece that I see a lot of times is people just don't understand the importance of making an offer to get somebody back in the door. Like they're just like, yeah, well, we were talking about how awesome the float is, and I didn't want to ruin it by trying to sell them something. So those are kind of the three things that I see a lot, but I'd love to know from you guys, what have you seen from your teams? Any other challenges?
I mean, I think that last part of what you described is spot on. And I think, I don't know that anybody has voiced this before, but also just like, what's my motivation? Why should I be selling somebody on this as an employee is potentially difficult.
Exactly. Drew, what about you?
If I may, I actually intentionally don't really try to sell anything, because when people come out, I want them to marinate in the blissfulness of the float. So I'm not, unless it comes up and they ask questions, then unless it comes up naturally, then I'll definitely bring it up. I do have something that I leave for first-time floaters. If they buy one more, they get one free. So I'll leave specifically for people who, within the system, no free ads. Float Helm is awesome because you can see their history floating with you. So I have a laminated little piece of paper that says, thank you for floating. If you like your float, today only, if you buy one, we'll give you one free. And know what it adds up to? It adds up to 3 months worth of a membership. But people think they're getting a free float, right?
Yep.
So
exactly.
I've also toyed with, and Dylan, maybe you can confirm, I think Float Helm can send automated follow-up emails, which I think is something I should probably be doing. But right now, I just leave something in the, and that's kind of the conversation starter. But otherwise, I'm not, if people are like, that was awesome, this is great, I'm not like, when do you want to come back? I mean, I just kind of think, that's tough. I don't like it being done to me, and I just feel kind of cheesy doing it, so I don't do that.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think you're the perfect subject for Kim to be talking with you. That's great. But can I just say also,
and we're going to hit on some of those.
Kim is the one that you want to talk to about email, follow-up emails as well. I think she's the queen of the follow-up email.
We're going to touch on some of those too. Cool. And I'm curious, so Drew just said that he has an offer where he does kind of basically like an intro pack. Dylan, do you guys have, and I know we've talked about some of this before, but just to clarify, do you have an intro pack, or do you make an offer for a membership at that point?
We do a starter pack first. So the philosophy is get used to floating before we sign you up on a membership. I think signing somebody up on a membership immediately just means turnover, like people cancel, like no. Know that this is a good fit first.
You got it. And that's one of the biggest pieces that I see. A lot of times people, a lot of centers will offer, like you come in for your first float and then they make the offer for the membership. And if you think about it, even if your membership is a non-committal membership and, they can cancel anytime, even that just feels like a commitment just because it's called a membership.
Membership, yes, exactly.
Yeah. And if you think about how you're feeling, exactly what Drew was saying, you're coming out feeling like life is amazing and wonderful. And then all of a sudden somebody's asking you to make this big commitment. And it's kind of like popping the big marriage question on the first date. Like, this was amazing.
Yeah.
I love you. Let's get married and run away together.
The rest of our lives together.
Have to play hard to get a little bit, right?
Yes. It's such a huge thing. And so creating some sort of an offer that is not going to take away from their experience and is not going to make you look like you're just in it for the sales and trying to get somebody to come back every time. Really, the goal is to get them to the next float. And some centers will offer a discounted first float, and then it's full price for the second float. And so that to me is a friction point, right? Where if you're paying more for the second one, like,
why would I?
Why? Why would I want to do that? I did the first one was cheaper and you want me to do it again.
If the float was so amazing, it's like, yeah, this is worth it. But you're trying to keep somebody on never paying full price, like keep them low. There's a benefit to showing up repeatedly.
And I will say, if your center is really slow and you need to get people in the door, having that discounted first float is a strong strategy. If you're, fairly steady state, or if what your focus is on getting people back in the door, then having that discounted float first can bite you whenever you're trying to get them to come back. There's also a lot of places that offer a 3-pack. That, their intro pack that they have to commit to before they actually come in for the first time. And while it's a great deal, and you might have some folks who take you up on that because they know it's a great deal, they've heard how amazing floating is, or maybe they floated somewhere else and they're new to your center, and they are still eligible for that intro pack. They haven't tried it yet, so they haven't had a chance to love it. And so if you can come up with something, and that is still rewarding them financially, but not making it a commitment and not making it more expensive.
Right.
You've got to have something that is really enticing. It's hard to refuse, and it promotes floating as a practice. And Dylan, exactly what you said is such a huge piece that it's almost like a trial. Like you as the center want to test them out. Like before you're even eligible for this membership, see how it fits into your lifestyle. Is this something that you would benefit from if you're coming back? Will you prioritize it? Because if there's nothing in there to help them to prioritize, if it is a totally non-committal, cancel anytime, a lot of times you're going to get deal seekers and people who are just in it because they see that price tag is lower. So we do what Drew said, the offer that we make is to buy your second float and get the third one for free. So they can start with that full intro package where it is buy the first 2 and get the third one for free. But we also allow them to basically split that payment. They pay for it because we do a prepay system. They prepay for it when they book. Then they come in and they don't feel like they've spent money that day because they booked it, a couple weeks ago. And so it's a lot easier for them to feel at ease purchasing the second one and and getting the third one for free. And it's really important to say it that way, because if you say buy one, get one free, people will then say, oh, I can share this with my spouse, or tell her, I'll have a friend come with me. But what we're really trying to do is create that practice, that repeat returning guest. And so by saying, purchase your second, get your third one for free.
And then when they ask, can I share this? What do you say?
Mm-hmm. We say, you can't share this one. We have some other packages that are shareable, but the reason we don't share it is because we want you to have the full experience and all of the benefits of floating 3 times in a short window. Yeah. You'll get the most benefits by getting to number 3 yourself. Yep. And most people are like, oh, okay, I get it then. And, we also put stipulations on ours that while your paid float never expires, your third one, which is the freebie, has to be used within 3 months. And so that means that you need to get number 2 and number 3 by that 3rd month. And very few people don't do that. Cool. But we also have all kinds of reminders and things set up so that people, if they're getting close, they haven't used them, they get reminders that, hey, your pass is going to be expiring soon.
And that's built that really in. It's like a package. Sorry, that it's like 2 of them have like a 1-year expiry, and then the next one has a. How long did you say it was?
We give 3 months to use float number 2 and number 3. Yeah. Cool. And so by having an offer like that, that's also going to help your team to be able to consistently talk about it. But the biggest piece where we're missing opportunities is if you don't even ask them. And Drew, I think this is a piece we're going to talk about mindset in a little bit, but this is a piece where if your service is really helping someone, you are not selling them anything, you are helping them. And if you think about it from a consultative approach, that you are helping someone solve their problem. They came to you because they have a problem and your service helped them with that. They can't say no if you don't offer it. But there are ways to offer it even without being like really, really pushy or upfront. And like you said, having the laminated sign in the room, that's something that I strongly encourage. These are the things that we call soft sell touch points. And there are different ways that you can get that message to people without just having to dump it on them at checkout. One, we mentioned it in our orientation video. The orientation video itself says, hey, floating is a practice. It might take you a few tries to really get the hang of it. Most people say that float number 3 is the best one. The first one, they're kind of curious. Number 2, they know how it works and it's a little bit easier. And then number 3 is really the sweet spot for most of our guests. And that's why we recommend trying it at least 3 times. And then you layer that. They see the message, on their website. They see different packages that are available when they're at checkout. Having those different options listed there is really great. Almost everybody's going to go to that single. But even having something like a 6-pack or a membership or a 10-pack or 12-pack or whatever, again, it's a subliminal thing where you're just saying like, hey, floating's a good thing to do more than once. How many times do you think about booking a massage and there's no multi-pack on there at massage checkouts? If you're going to someone who is just a licensed massage therapist, typically it's just a pay-as-you-go service. And that's why massage oftentimes has that, perception of it being a like treat yourself kind of thing.
Right.
Where massage is, if you've had massage before and a really good one, it's also something that you should do on a regular basis. But getting that just visual out there of saying this is something you do more than once. Dylan, sorry, I thought you had a question.
Nope. I think I do, but also I want to let you unpack it all.
A couple of other things that you could do. We have, either like a laminate sign or something that you could put in there, like a little table tent sort of thing. We also have doorknob hangers that we can put on there. I will say doorknob hangers get missed sometimes. So having something that you can put on the bench or on a table or something in the room that is a little more visible is great. Ours is 2-sided. And on one side, it says, bring this with you to the front desk at checkout if you'd like to take advantage of this offer. And the other side has the offer on there where if you buy your second, you get the third one for free. And so a lot of times we'll have people who come out and they're just holding the thing. They don't even say anything. They'll just hand it to the person and say, yeah, okay, it's a super, super easy sale. We also have a little sign right above our water cooler. And so when someone comes out of a float, we always offer hot tea or water. And then once we've served it, we let them know, just place your glass over here on top of the water cooler. There's a little tray, or help yourself to more if you'd like it. And then when they go to put it there, there's actually a little sign right behind it that says, enjoy your first float. And then we have the offer on there, talking about floating as a practice, and that floating is a practice. And if you purchase your second one today, we give you the third one for free. You don't have to book it,
Perfect.
But having different places where you're kind of talking about it. Another option you could do if you have a digital display behind your reception desk is if you have that, digital real estate behind you, you could have the offer on the screen when they come out and you don't necessarily have to say anything at all to them about it. I purchased a digital screen with this, in mind. Sure. We ended up not doing it because we found some really cool stuff that we like putting up there instead. But we have all of these other ways that make it so much easier. And so, a simple line, if somebody says they loved it, say, so glad you enjoyed it. If you want to try it again, I have an offer for you. There's no pressure, but I'm happy to tell you about it if you want. And then almost all of them are going to say, yeah, what is it? And then we tell them, and most of them are going to take us up on it. But some people say, or you can read and if they're a little bit hesitant. And we say, you know what, no pressure. We'll send you an email after you leave. That offer stands for 24 hours. Just click the link in the email or write back to it and, respond back to that email. And we're happy to help you with that. And that, again, helps so much just to give them a chance to think about it.
So I think this is where you and I have differed a little bit in our philosophies, which, by the way, I just want to clap and cheer and praise for the multiple, how brand awareness, you need to see a logo 5 or 10 times. I forget what the number is, but you need to see it over and over and over. Of course, that makes sense with seeing membership over and over and over. How easy it would be just to let that slip by. So I just love that it's all over the place. Nothing in your face. It's not flashing signs, except perhaps your TV flashing sign, although it sounds like you're not using it, but in general. But then, so love that. But the difference being... gosh, now I think I distracted myself there. Where did I lose
talking about the email.
The follow-up. So I've always had had an issue with when somebody leaves, we don't hear back from them. And so we were sending out emails afterwards, and we had such low return on that. And so I'm curious if it has to do with your wording, subject line, any of that stuff to be like, this is why it works for us.
We try to make sure that they know the email is coming. And so we tell them, and sometimes we even ask them, is it okay if I send you an email later? You can take your time and think about it. If they say no, we go in really quickly and turn off our marketing emails to them. But if they say, yeah, that's fine, or okay, I'll watch for that, we let it go. But basically the email says, something about, we noticed you didn't take advantage of our offer to upgrade. Most people notice that they sleep better after a float. They feel better the next day. So why don't you sleep on it, see how you feel tomorrow, and then click here if you change your mind.
Damn it, Kim. What a great answer. What a great answer. Well done.
And again, part of it is about making it about them. They came to you because they have a problem.
Sure.
They need your help solving that problem.
Right.
And when you're giving solutions to that problem, you're not selling them a package. You're not selling them a membership. You're helping them solve their problem. It's even better if you know, like, their personal issues. If they came in and said, I haven't slept well in a week, go turn off that auto email, send a personalized email that says, hey, I know you've had a rough week. Hopefully you're going to get that sleep that you need tonight. And then you can still include the offer and have some of the same, sort of similar language. But it's even better if you can really personalize that. And again, solve their issue.
Do you have your staff writing those emails as well?
We have them. It's all automated. And so we have the templates, but they have the option to go in and edit those, and they can manually send them as well. So, and ours get tracked through our system. So I can tell if somebody opened it and if they read it or not. You do lose a little bit. Sometimes they go into people's spam folders. Gotcha. And so that's one of the reasons we like to tell people, like, hey, watch for this email. If you change your mind, you'll have that option. Cool. And truly, the link that we include in there, we say it's valid for 24 hours. That link never expires. Sure. And honestly, if it's been a week and they're like, you know what, floating was really awesome, I want to do that again, I'm not going to say, no, you can't have the deal because it's been too long. Like, it's still a win for us, especially if after that long they came back and said, man, I really do need to do that again. Yeah.
Nice. I'm loving it, Kim.
Yeah. So I know
a lot of pushback from me.
And I know that Float can do some automated emails. That is out of my wheelhouse since I don't use it. But I know that in the Helmbot Captains group, there's been some tips shared there about how to set that up. And I know Jonathan Rogue has done some work on setting up, I believe, and Amy and James Harder from Float Harder have also done some work to set theirs up. And you can even link everything through MailChimp and set up some automation emails. So there's lots of ways to do that. If you are not tech savvy, just create yourself a little template that you can copy and paste, and you can still do it. After they leave, just say, I'm going to send it to you as soon as you leave. That way it's in your inbox whenever you're ready to look at it later.
I would just like to throw out a couple of things, Kim. One is I totally agree that there are people who I think come out a little confused about how they feel and what just happened. And I've had multiple people come back when I thought they wouldn't, and they told me they weren't sure how they felt, but a couple of days later, I felt awesome the last 2 days. And there's this settling in that goes on after they leave, and they do have that great night's sleep, or something happens and they just handle it a lot better, and they feel really relaxed and a little less anxious. And I think letting it, again, marinate a little bit, and then a follow-up email, which I feel like I'm getting excited to look into my Helm emails and how to send follow-up emails, because also to touch on something else you said, people might not necessarily come in and say, I have a bad back, I want to float. But we, on the side of customer service, inviting them into our home, our float centers, can ask them, what brings you in today? Sure. How are you feeling? Are you stressed out? Do you have a physical issue? I tell everyone who comes in, most people don't come in here because they feel good. They're coming in because they need a break, whether it's from life or their body. So which is it? I make light of it and make a joke of it, but I'm also trying to figure out what brought them in. What you're right? Like, that's how we can speak to them, and I don't want to say sell them, but we can speak to them in a way that could be beneficial for them to come back and make it a practice. We can help them. Yeah. I love that, Drew. And like, having that, whether it's required as an intake, question, or it's part of your booking system or your client profiles, or just your conversations that you're having with people, getting to know that. And then also making sure to like document that so that you can reference it later. Make notes, are like, we keep notes on always
everybody,
stressing that
and
to staff. Yes,
it is so important. But in that way, you're again just tying their problem to the solution that you can offer. If somebody comes in with an issue that you can't solve, then offering them a membership or a package or something isn't going to help them at all. And that's when it's going to feel like sales. That's when it's going to feel like really pushy, like, like you've got a quota to meet or something. And the guest is going to feel that too. And so if you can figure out why they're coming in, and Drew, I think you're exactly right. Like everybody's coming in because they've got something to deal with. And if we know it, we can speak specifically to what that is. And again, it's mindset. Mindset is such a huge piece of it.
Know something else that I say to people? I'll say, do some stretching. It's a great day to do some stretching. And I really hope they go and maybe do a little stretching, stretch the legs, the hams, the quads a little bit, because stretching always feels good, right? And if they maybe are a little bit looser from their float and they're not as tense, maybe they have a good stretch session, and that combined makes them feel awesome. And they're like, yeah, that float was great. And they forget that they stretched, right?
But also get the most out of your float, right? You're getting that deeper stretch, like you're in the mode for it. Yeah. That's
totally.
cool.
Yeah.
Feels good to stretch after a float.
Exactly. So if you think about the sales funnel piece, they have come through your door. You've made a great offer that's going to help them with the problem that they have. And then they've agreed to come back. And so they use their intro package. And so on float number 3, especially if you do the third float for free, they literally haven't paid anything. They're coming out of the best float that they've ever had, more than likely. And they're feeling on top of the world. And that's a chance to tell them, like, you can continue to feel this amazing if you want to make this part of your self-care routine. And if you want to continue this as a practice, we have some options for you. Would you like to hear about those? And again, you can also do this via email. You can do this with the same tent cards, the placeholders, the signage, whatever that you want to put in the room. So that it's specific to the fact that this is their third float. Then after this, they don't have any sessions left. And so have something, for those soft sells, so that as they're coming back out, they have that information and they can digest it and come and ask you. Most of the time, our guests come out after that third float. We also have an email that goes out to them when they're on their last one. It says, hey, we noticed you only have one visit left. And from here, if you want to continue this, here are your options. You can pay as you go. We have a continuous pass that we offer, where if you book your next float to happen within the next 3 months before you leave, we give you a discount. There's no commitment beyond this one that you just booked. But if you don't book before you leave, you go back to regular price. And so we have a lot of people who are like, they want to keep their discount. And I'll honor that discount for any of our services. I don't care what you're booking, but if you book an appointment to come back to see us again within 3 months, go for it. And so that's another way, even, without having to go into the membership option, we're keeping people coming back in the door, and it doesn't feel threatening to them. It feels like, yeah, that's a great option. I want to do that. Like, thank you for doing that for me. And then, of course, if you have the membership option, that's another great way to, keep them coming back in. But it's all about the mindset. And so if you think about, your team who hates sales, who doesn't know how to start the conversation, or the folks who don't get what the big deal is and like why it's so important to do that, making sure that they understand that you're having conversations with your team about how to talk about it, and that if floating helps them, you're helping them by making the offer. You're not trying to meet a quota. I'm very anti-quota. Yes, I get it from a sales perspective. I love setting goals, but my goal is for my team to take care of our people. And that just happens naturally. And if the team feels like they're not just numbers, that they don't have to meet quotas, their job isn't on the line if they don't meet a quota, that's going to help them to feel really, really comfortable.
Yeah.
And then, if they're not sure how to ask about it, building rapport, exactly what you were talking about, Drew, earlier, like talking to people, finding out why they're coming in, talk to them as humans. And when they come in, start building that rapport then. It's so much easier to have a conversation with someone later and tie back to what they were talking about before. But if you just welcome them in, like, hi, have you ever floated before? No? Great. Okay. Did you watch our orientation video? Or let me go show you where everything is. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's not rapport at all.
Right.
That's very transactional. And then if you make a sales offer, if you make an offer for them to come back, it's going to feel salesy. It's going to feel awful. And it's going to feel awful for both people involved in the conversation.
Right.
And if I can just stress again, because this is a conversation that I have with my staff, don't forget these are people talk to them like people, be normal with them. Just talk to them. Like it's the more informal you can make it while being professional, I feel like the more comfortable people will become with you, and they'll, let down their guard a little bit. And the more comfortable they are, the more relaxed they'll get. And the more relaxed they get in the float, the more awesome they think the experience was. It's all a trickle-down effect. But they're humans. Talk to them like humans. Like you'd talk to your friend, and be sincere and empathetic, and ask them questions. And I don't like awkward silence. I will with my buddies, no problem. But if somebody's there, I don't know that person. I'm fascinated by people. There's a lot of questions you can ask people, which is helpful, again, in not diagnosing, but understanding where they're coming from and why they're utilizing the float services and how you can help them. Yeah. Brings it back to helping them.
You are bringing something, we don't have to get into it tonight. In fact, it'd be great for a whole other episode of just training employees in general, and connecting with employees, or training employees to connect with clients. And I know we're talking about the sales part more tonight, but especially with employees that are working 20 hours a week or less, and they have maybe another job or two. It's a gig economy right now, and just how do we approach that? So maybe another episode, but I'd love to discuss.
That's a whole other episode,
right?
Yeah, I love it, and it's so important, especially in today's digital world, where everybody would prefer to keep in touch with each other by texting. And what do you do when you have a real human in front of you? Like, it's such a huge challenge. I mean, it is. But speaking of challenges, going back to what we were talking about before, the employees who don't understand the importance of making an offer and trying to get people to come back through the door. And I'm not saying this at all to use it as a threat, but as a small business, we kind of have to be a little more transparent with our teams than big corporations do. They're protected by lots of wealth and lots of success, typically. We are not. We're very vulnerable. Even if your center is successful, you're still vulnerable as a small business. And helping your employees to understand that if people aren't coming back in the door, then your business is going to start to fail. And if your business starts to fail, they have to find another job. And for the people who really love working there and doing what they get to do every day, they'll understand that, and again, you have to say it in a way that is not threatening. But to say, if we don't have people coming in, we're not in business, and I can't afford to pay you anymore. Right. And it's just a simple fact, and I think sometimes we feel like we have to tiptoe around money topics, especially with our teams. I share our sales numbers with our team every month. I tell them exactly how far up or down we were year over year, if this was our best month ever. I do a little summary breakdown in my monthly team meeting, and just say, here's how the business is looking. There were months where we were slower, or where, sales were down, or our check-ins were down. And I would say, like, here's where we are. We're trying to come up with some ways to get some more folks in. We're making some phone calls, and we need to reach out to our members. And, what ideas do you guys have for getting people back in the door? And let them be a part of that process. It really helps them to feel a stronger sense of ownership, like what they're doing actually matters to the community and to the business. And it's all kind of folding in and helping themselves, help others, help the community, help the world.
I like that. I like that. The ownership part of using it, as opposed to thinking of employees as a tool, how to implement the tool of your employee, but instead this be their space. And I also, just to echo something that you've kind of been talking about this whole time, but just you talked about initially, paid ads are great for getting that first time floater in. They're not great for recurring. And just something, even before I ever opened a business, learned was that it's cheaper to retain a client than it is to get a new. Acquiring a client is more expensive than retaining one. And so why not do everything you can when somebody comes in to make them comfortable, let them know everything, but whether it's membership, starter package, everything you can do to retain that client, rather than spending all the money for new ones.
You got
it. By the way, can I also say, if the more members you have, the more regular, even if they're not members, the more regulars you have, the less intros you're giving, the more connection you get to have with your people, your customers, and it's easier on your employees. Like, it's just win-win-win-win everywhere.
Yeah. We have certain days, like literally, and typically it happens on Sundays, but we have had it on a few other days of the week, where we look at the schedule and it is completely booked, all with members. And
Nice.
that's a day where I'm like, you know what? We don't have the opportunity to do upsells, but man, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful day because we know that we're doing something right and we're taking care of people. They're coming back. And those are the people who are going to go out and find your new clients, your new guests, your new members. But if you think about the fact that you've already got them coming back in, they're going to do the legwork to get all of those new people at the top of the funnel. They're going to go tell their friends who have no idea what floating is that they did this cool thing or that they've been doing this for a year and that's their secret to success, you know. And your guests become your marketing team. That's the ultimate right there.
We've never had a full day of members. That is a beautiful goal to have. That would be incredible. Love it.
It's super cool. I have all of my appointment types color coded by member, like by appointment type. If it's a member, a first timer, returning guest, all of that. Yeah. Of course I do. And to be able to look at our screen and it's all green, I'm just like, oh, it's a beautiful day. And it's easy. It's fun, you know, because like it's the people we know. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Of course, we work and like, this is such a weird thing that as employers, we try to pretend like people just want to come work for us because they just enjoy working. No, it's okay to say like, we work for money. We all work for money. And of course, there are some people who may not be motivated by money, but they see it as a necessity. And so understanding it kind of goes into your employee retention side of things, but understanding what motivates your team members is really important. That's a question I ask everybody when they are first hired on during their onboarding process. I have a little survey that I send to them. And one of the questions is what motivates you? And I have a list of things. And you know, the people who don't check money on there, I'm like, okay, cool. Money doesn't motivate me, but I know I need it. And so I know that that's a basic need of human life. And so we do offer a commission program. It is not huge on purpose because number one, we can't afford it. But number two, I don't want people to feel like they have to be aggressive trying to get, intro upgrades and membership sales. And we pay commission on anything that's getting somebody to come back in the door. Any package, any single continuous pass, anything at all that gets somebody back in the door, we pay a commission on that starting at $5 and up, depending on how much it is. And so while it, may not be a huge number, it's also saying, thank you for getting somebody to come back to see us again. And that's just another way to reward your employees. Some people are going to be motivated by it, but they're all going to feel at least appreciated for taking that, step and having a conversation with somebody to help them.
May I ask how far it goes? Like if a member is rebooking for their float next month, they're not getting $5 for that, I'm assuming? Right.
No, it's for membership. We have a higher number up front. And so they get paid that up front. It's a risk, but that basically the first month that somebody is a member, we eat the cost because I'm paying our commissions out of that. And so for me, if somebody is only a member for a month, I'm losing money. If they're only a member for 2 months, we're about to hit even, and by 3 months, we're back to good. And those are the folks that are typically going to stay with us longer. I've thought about doing a commission for memberships that renew. And at some point we might look at that.
That's cool.
And because it would be a lower number, but for every month that this person is a member, you're getting it. And it could even be something like $1. If you think about how many members you have and how many, divided up amongst your team, about how many memberships does each person get each month? And can you afford to pay them that amount on every membership every month? It can be pretty affordable, but also pretty lucrative, for your team.
I love this. I think that's really interesting. Yeah. And like, I guess technically if you start paying out and you don't see any increase, then you're really just losing money by paying them out more. But it really seems to make sense that this would motivate them and that the numbers would increase and it's only good for business. Interesting.
Exactly. And, I go back to hiring again, that when we're picking people who want to help the community. We are picking people who enjoy getting to do something more than just sell stuff to people. And so I think about that whenever we're talking about our organic sales funnel and about how we're getting people back in the door is our team decided to take this job because they didn't want the hospitality. They didn't want to work in retail. Yeah. They wanted to do something that is helping the world. And I know that sounds so big and audacious, but really, like, that's why we're all in this.
Yeah, that's why we started our
centers. We want to help the world one float at a time, and to think about the fact that that's why we're here. We want to get people back in the door, and having some sort of path to help guide people back into your door. And you can pick and choose the pieces that feel right for your culture. And again, if people are a part of that, it's a lot easier to have those conversations and to remind them that what a ripple effect it has on the community. And think about, every time something bad happens, you see somebody getting pissed off in public, or, all that happens in the world around us. And you should just look at them and go, you know what? If they just need a float, if they came into float, I could probably get them to come back into float, and they wouldn't act like that again, Right. Yeah. So boom, that's it. That's the secrets to life.
Kim, so how do we hire you to walk us through and
when you say it,
help set up our email? I know, like, everything you've said is like, yep, all of this makes sense. And it's like, excuse my language. Idea. So now, sorry, I say ideas are easy a lot, but I got to say those were very good ideas that were clearly not just, I happen to have this really good idea. I happen to really have this good idea. That was clearly a strategy. Implementing that is the even harder part. So I just listened to everything you said. Can I just ask, like, should I start with the signage? Should I start with talking to with a team meeting about it? How would you start this out? Let's just happen to say, I don't know, a hypothetical, like your business was open for 11 years and you like your employees have a mix of people who have been around for like 8 years and 3 months. How would you start implementing these things?
Hypothetically. I
mean, totally. Like, let's say there's a married couple who is running this business, and like old house, like a 1904 building. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe the stairs creak when you're on the left side or something. Yeah.
Ooh, you knew about that, huh? Dang it. So embarrassed by those tours.
I would say pick the easiest thing to implement.
Cool.
And
low-hanging fruit.
Any step is better than no steps at all. And so find one thing that's going to be really, really easy out of everything that we just talked about. Implement that. See if it works. And it might not work. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that we forget about marketing. Every market is different, and trial and error is your best friend. There are things that other centers are really successful at. I tried in my center and it bombed.
Sure. That's good.
And the same is true. Some of the stuff that I just said is our most successful might bomb for you. And that's the thing, is you have to be looking at your results and seeing, okay, does this feel right? Is it performing? And if not, change it. But I would say pick whatever sounds the easiest to you. And honestly, doing something like a tent card in the room, if it's somebody's first time, it's so easy to do. It's so easy, and see if that works. And then maybe start having the conversations, or maybe set up an email automation. Maybe just start talking to your team. If you've got a meeting coming up, talk to your team and say, like, hey guys, I've noticed like we have a lot of first timers, but we don't have as many returning guests. What do you guys think we can do? And ask them if they have ideas. They might have ideas, but they're holding out on you because, like, what motivation do they have to share?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So really just find something and do that.
Cool. I'm feeling the fire tonight. I've been feeling the fire for a few months, like just at the shop. And so this just adds to it. It makes me want to implement things. And this is one of those episodes where, as much as I hate listening to my own voice, I will be re-listening to this one. I believe a couple times to roll things out. I'll keep our audience and you, of course, updated on what we do here.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, if you pick something, and Drew, especially with your feelings about it, I'm really curious if you decide to implement anything, you have to come back and share.
So I'm off the top of my head, I'm definitely thinking about looking into those automated emails.
Oh, for sure.
But also where I am very much still trying to sell my float center. I'm not exactly motivated to implement a whole ton of this stuff. I'll be honest with you.
Totally. Yeah.
But for the next person who buys this float center, I think you should listen to this a couple of times and implement away, because there is plenty of floats to be had out there, and there's a lot of great ideas, and you can come in and work a little harder than me and make a lot more money.
Hilarious. I mean, you technically could up the value of your business by implementing some of these things, boosting sales, etc. But I get what you're saying, Drew. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. I'm in a good spot in my life right now. I'm cruising.
Nice.
So
That's great.
awesome.
I'm enjoying. But these are great ideas, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I do feel I've been thinking about the emails because, Dylan, was it you who didn't have a good float, your first float?
Yep. That's true.
Same
It
here.
was. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So when two people come in, I'm always like, at least one of them is gonna like that float, right? And if they both get the email for some type of follow up, I think that would be an easy, yeah, let me try it again. Because especially if one person has those feelings and the other one doesn't, and I didn't really have that in my float. I should try that again. I was a little fidgety. I got the salt in my eyes, whatever it may be. But maybe that's an incentive to get those people back again, right? So, yeah, I think it's great. Go, Kim.
Go, Kim. Go, everybody. Go, Team Float. Kim, any
Real
last
quick.
words? Please. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
On that, Drew sparked something there. I've noticed this really fascinating thing that happens when we have groups that come in together, 2 or more people. I mean, our groups for floating 2 to 3 people. Sometimes you will have one person who loves it, and then you have the other 1 or 2 who maybe had an okay float,
Yep.
or
Wah,
they
wah.
just wanted to do it as a treat. And because the friend doesn't upgrade, the person who loved it doesn't upgrade.
Oh,
And so that's a case where having that follow-up email and saying, hey guys, just want to let you know, you're going to get an email. Check it out if you're interested in coming back. No pressure. If not, we're not going to spam you with a whole bunch of email, but we wanted to give you the same offer that we give everybody on their first visit. And just leave it at that. And I can't tell you how many times we've had people who've come in those parties where 1 or 2 people they're so busy, chatty. They just want to go get the coffee or go shopping or do the next thing or whatever. But there's one person who is sitting here having this like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever. And they are kind of like, oh, like, why did I have such a good time? And they didn't. And then they catch that email and then they'll upgrade via email and they come back and become members. And then later they tell Chatty Cathy's to come back in again and bring them in, and you get them back in the door at that point. But having some way for somebody to stealthily say, you know what, that was really cool, I want to do that, without their pushy
Funny,
friends
Kim. That's
who
funny.
are saying no. So, yeah.
Whip. Kim.
Whip. We're
God
done.
bless you. God bless you.
Thank
You're doing
you.
the Lord's work. Thank you, Kim. Thank you guys. It's good to see you guys. Gloria's not going to be able to make it to tonight's recording. Maybe
We miss you,
midday.
Gloria.
We do miss you,
Yeah.
Gloria, so much. Kim, Drew, thank you. Gloria, we love you. Olga, thank you for producing the show. Thanks to our sponsors, FTA, Float Helm, Mindful Solutions, 2Ls, mindful.solutions. See what Kim can do for your social media management and so much more. It is really growing what she can offer. And thanks to Deepest Darkest for our theme song. And I think that's it, unless I'm forgetting anything. As always, take one thing from tonight's episode and implement it. You've got some homework this week. We'll see you next week.